Today we're gonna talk about Trump, trying to have it both ways on abortion, and how that's failing in brutal fashion. And from my interview, I've got an episode of my YouTube series Inside the Right with Tim Miller, where we discuss the Arizona Supreme Court, allowing an 1864 abortion ban to stand and U.S. Senate candidate Kari Lake's attempt to flip-flop on that exact issue. I'm Brian Tyler Cohen, and you're watching No Lie. Another week means another right-wing state Supreme Court has upheld some draconian abortion. 2 weeks ago, it was Florida, which paved the way for Ron DeSantis' 6-week abortion ban to stand this past week. Arizona allowed an 1864 abortion ban to take effect, which included no exceptions for rape or incest, and which is written half a century before Arizona even became a state. Republicans are adopting laws written when the U.S. was still a smattering of territories, and women didn't even have the right to vote, and it goes without saying. But the optics of that are just about as miserable as it gets, which is why even the hardliner Republicans, even the most outspoken NAGA Republicans, including Donald Trump himself, are in a tailspin over this. Trump himself has been desperately trying to have it both ways, trying to toe the line between pandering to the far right, lunatics who want a full nationwide ban, and the rest of the country that is absolutely appalled by these moves. Here was his answer when he was asked for some clarity over the last few decades with the president. You have which one? But you know exactly which one it is. And when I was in New York and when I was a Democrat, also, just like Ronald Reagan, Ronald Reagan was a Democrat, which sort of followed a very similar path. But if you look at what we've done with Roe v. Wade, we did something that everyone said couldn't be done, and we got it done. And I give great credit to the Supreme Court and the justices for having the courage to do it. What they did is very simply give it back to the state. And I'll tell you, the Democrats are the radicals on this, because they're willing to have abortions in the 7th, 8th, 9th month. That's it, word salad about Reagan, and then eventually just descending into some tired fear-mongering about Democrats. And if you watch my videos, you've heard me say this before, but it's worth repeating 1,000 times, if I have to, certainly as long as Republicans are going to keep propping up claims about Democrats pushing for abortions in the 9th month. If you look at the CDC data, 99% of abortions happen 421 weeks, 99%, and for those last 1% of women having abortions after 21 weeks, the reasons range from fetal anomalies to health risks to the mother. That is why women who have late-term abortions are actually doing it, not because they want to, not because abortion's fun or because why the hell not, they're doing it because they have to. And if you ask any of those women, it is heartbreaking and devastating, and traumatic and crushing. And so when these abortion bans those are the women who are impacted and swimming. Like Kate Cox, the Texas woman, whose fetus had a genetic condition called trisomy 18, who had to flee the state of Texas for an abortion. She didn't do it because she's some liberal, who casually decided to end her pregnancy. Because why the hell not, she did it because her pregnancy wasn't viable, and continuing to carry the fetus would endanger her ability to have a baby in the future. That's what Republicans are doing. They are hurting the ability of these women to have families because they can't help but impose their theocratic agenda on. And let's be clear, they know this. Those are Republicans know this, and I promise you that they all know the truth when it comes to their hysteria over 9th month abortions. But they perpetuate this bullshit anyway, because they think it's an effective talking point to manipulate their base with. They will knowingly lie to their supporters, because they don't have any actual arguments, and so they exploit them with a fire hose of bullshit instead. And look, I'm offering this rebuttal when people clearly know this anyway. If the best that Republicans can do is just some desperate, what about ISM, and claim that actually it's the Democrats who are the extreme ones, that I think that goes to show just how bad of an issue this is for him. Because not for nothing, but it's not the Democrats who are forcing rape victims to give birth, and something Democrats forcing some little girl who was molested by a family member to give birth. There's not the Democrats forcing women to carry non-viable pregnancy to term, only to give birth to stillborn babies. It's not Democrats trying to imprison doctors, and then the Democrats trying to ban interstate travel at the fucking jest. To Republicans can finger point all they want, but Americans are smarter than Republicans are giving them credit for, and by the way, that is bearing itself out in election after election. In the 6 states where abortion referendums have been on the ballot, Republicans have lost every single one. Add that to the raft of elections since Dobbs, from Kansas to Ohio to Virginia to Alabama, and it becomes immediately clear that Republicans have a major problem on their hands when it comes to abortion, which they can see clearly, and which is why they are throwing a ton of spaghetti at the wall to see what, but it's not moving the needle. It is just betraying how desperate they are. So frankly, for as long as they want to lie about this issue, I am more than happy to keep litigating it, because not only is abortion a dismal issue for Republicans, but it puts on full display how dangerously extreme they've become. Abortion may be the most potent example, but it's just one slice of a larger pie. That is, they're dangerous as a political party. The good news is that Americans can plainly see that, and it's only becoming more and more apparent every single day. Here's a preview of my discussion with Tim Miller. So Kari Lake quickly came out with a statement, disavowing the decision, which of course was to disguise her true position, which she shared here. My personal belief is that all life matters, all life counts, and all life is precious, and I don't believe in abortion. I think the older law is going to go into effect. That's what I believe will happen. Okay, but you approve of that. What at conception? I believe life begins at conception. Okay, what do we do about abortion pills? What do we do about? I don't think abortion pills should be legal. That's not in Arizona. All right, Tim, is she gonna be able to run away from this? Then get much clearer than that. Brian boy, a lot of times, Trump is good at kind of using weasel words, and he has this word salad in his sentences, or like streams that turn left to right, and so, but Kari Lake is like that's like 8 words right there. It's just a straight thing. I support it. I support the territorial ban. Territorial. It's important to get that. It's because the law was in effect when Arizona was a territory. Arizona didn't become a state until 1912. So this is from before Arizona was a state. This lot, I don't know. I think one of the punishments was that you had to have a duel, out there. Shit was written, and it's crazy that they upheld this. It's all Republicans on the Supreme Court there, and 4 that were appointed by the most recent governor, Ducey, and to the point about the previous governor, Jan Brewer. And so, I think the Keurig is in a huge bind here. She can try to get out of it, but the odds are that Ruben Gallego, or Democratic opponent, are gonna be able to run, are gonna be absolutely devastating on this front, and go, has more money than like the similar to the Trump situation. Lake has not had it's not as well fundraising, and so Guy goes already on TV. I wouldn't be surprised to see an ad with that clip, and Phoenix TV, by the time this thing gets up on YouTube. Who knows how quick voters buy it, when these politicians revise their positions on blatantly unpopular issues like abortion. Like is that redefinition that they're going for possible? Or do you think that voters know that, what they're trying to pull? Sometimes situationally, it's possible. I think I'm thinking about gay marriage. For example, a lot of people change their views, right? If voters can say, oh, man, I changed my view on this too, right? Like, so I get it, you evolved over time. But in issues as instances as blatant as this was somebody like Kari Lake, who's so phony, obviously I just think it's hard for her to get away with that. And we've seen this time and again, where Trump has really done better than a lot of like the Trump imitators, because of just the nature of him being, a former the reality show guy, and like the whole taking literally, not seriously thing like Trump gets some leash to get away with this stuff, and I think we can talk about him, and how much he'll be damaged by this as well, but I don't. Kari Lake doesn't get any leash, and I think that the voters are going to see right through this, and it was just an abundantly clear statement that she supported the 0-week ban, no exception, only life of the mother exception, and I just don't know how you wiggle out, but especially when you now are going to be dealing with, if you're these Republicans, real life consequences from this, in Arizona in an election year, and I think it's just disastrous for Kari. Like, right, there's going to be more videos, more instances, more anecdotes of people who are having their rights restricted, and it